Are you tired of people recommending the same old horror hidden gems? Bro, have you seen Lake Mungo? Yes, bro. We all have. Today I want to talk about 5 genuinely overlooked horror movies that are weird, terrifying, and in some cases, pretty disturbing. Now, not all of them are traditionally scary, some are unsettling, some are just weird, and one of them genuinely needs to be put on a watch list. My name's Rookie, I love horror movies, and here are 5 genuinely overlooked horror movies I think you should check out. So first up we have The Last Will and Testament of Rosalyn Lee. So this is one of those horror movies that feels like grief has been turned into a haunted house. The story follows a guy who inherits his deceased mother's home, and he begins to find evidence of her obsession with occult beliefs and religious imagery. So this is a horror movie that doesn't rely on cheap jump scares. Instead, we get this feeling that something is constantly wrong. Every room feels like a memory, and every object here feels significant. It's the kind of movie where you have to pay attention to the background, or you feel like you need to keep your eyes on every inch of the screen in case you're gonna miss something. The scares are subtle, but the atmosphere is incredible. Think Hereditary, but with like the budget of a Tesco meal deal. Next up we have The Eclipse. So this 2009 horror movie is, I think, a really underrated ghost story. So at first it doesn't really feel like a horror movie. We follow this widower attending this literary festival in Ireland. Now, that's not exactly the scariest setup or premise to a movie, granted, but holy hell, when this movie starts, holy hell. Now, I think the reason this movie is so effective is because of how restrained everything is. Modern horror movies kind of scream in your face, where this movie sort of whispers at you. The apparitions appear briefly and the sound design is minimal, but the movie kind of trusts us and our imagination to fill in the blanks. And I've always found that an incredibly smart decision for horror movies, to let our imagination fill in the blanks, because we can come up with some stuff way scarier than any films can. This movie is proof that a single well executed scare is worth way more than like 20 CGI jump scares. Next up we have The Interior, and I genuinely do not know why this movie is not talked about more often. Now, the premise of this film sounds harmless. A guy travels into the wilderness. That's it. But this film transformed into one of the most anxiety-inducing experiences I've ever had with a film. The forest becomes hostile in a way that becomes very difficult to explain, not because anything dramatic happens, just because how everything feels wrong. This movie weaponizes isolation. The movie offers no safety, no comfort, and therefore no escape. If you've ever been alone in the woods and suddenly become aware of how small you are, that's what this movie feels like. This movie is basically cosmic horror stripped down to absolutely nothing, and that somehow makes it worse. Next up we have Murder Death Koreatown. This movie comes, or should come, with major trigger warnings because it kind of feels illegal, but it is so interesting. It's a found footage movie based around a real murder case in LA. The filmmaker inserts himself into the story and starts investigating, what happened. The deeper this movie goes, it becomes less clear that we're watching a movie, and rather it feels like we're watching somebody have a serious psychological breakdown. And it's a film that genuinely made me feel uncomfortable because of the way it blurs the line between reality and fiction. You start questioning everything. Is it staged? Is it real? Is this guy okay? Am I okay? The movie turns paranoia into a viewing experience. It's messy, it's difficult to watch, it's rough around the edges, and that's what makes it work. And finally we have Visitor Q. Now, have you ever watched a horror film that has made you reconsider every life decision you made that made you a horror fan? The film follows a seriously dysfunctional family whose lives are disrupted by a mysterious stranger. Now, if I described to you what happened in this film, I fear this video would get completely demonetized. Now, this isn't traditionally scary. There are no ghosts, no haunted house, no monsters. Instead, what we have is one of the most disturbing examples of a film representing social collapse that I've ever seen. The film takes every societal taboo imaginable and repeatedly drives over it with a truck. It's darkly funny, it's deeply uncomfortable, and it is a film that is impossible to forget. It's less a horror movie and more a psychological endurance test. This movie is a lot, but for me, this is the type of disturbing movie that I like, because it's not just simply trying to, upset us or disturb us. It is trying to say something and it's trying to do something. Is this a movie I would recommend to your casual horror movie fan? Absolutely not. But for those of us who do like, more challenging films, for those of us who do like our films on the more disturbing side, this is certainly a film you want to check out. So that's it. Those are 5 horror movies that are genuinely overlooked, that I don't see anybody talk about. Now, if you want traditional horror, I would start with The Eclipse. If you want something more atmospheric, watch The Last Will and Testament of Rosalyn. Now, if you want dread, watch The Interior. If it's paranoia you want, watch Murder, Death, Koreatown. And if you want to spend the rest of the week wondering what the hell you just watched, watch Visit the Queue. But remember, I did warn you about this film. If you like this video, consider subscribing to my page. We post 2 videos a week dissecting horror films, coming up with cool horror lists just like this one. If you have people in your lives that you want to traumatize, send them this list. You can also find me on TikTok, Instagram and Facebook. If you're ever stuck for something to watch, there are literally thousands of recommendations on my socials. And if you have any ideas of what films you want me to cover or ideas for lists, please let me know in the comments below. If you've seen any of the films I've just talked about, let me know your thoughts down there. But in the meantime, be nice to yourself, be nice to other people, and I'll see you next time.